Então vamos lá, pessoal. Ó, a gente vai ter agora uma palestra online. Então vai estar aqui no telão para vocês da Blizzard. Foi bem legal trazer eles, trazem bastante lembrança para a gente, né? Da época aí do mundo dos games. Quem é dos games? Ou quem joga, né? Ou quem gosta? Ó, o Rodrigo lá já levantou. Muito bem. Então a gente fez uma entrevista com eles sobre como uma desenvolvedora de games integra inteligência, então, para o mercado, né? Entrega inteligência competitiva. Bem legal, né? Então a gente vai chamar no telão o Head educacional aqui da Live University, Caio Montanher, e diretamente de Los Angeles, a gente vai receber também para essa palestra o Mike Swiontkowski. Ele é Senior Director e Head de Pesquisas Globais, justamente aí da Blizzard Entertainment. Então, boa palestra para vocês. Vamos lá.
All right, very good. Hi there, everyone. I'm Caio Montanher. I'm the head of education here at Live University, and I'm thrilled to have this person to talk with us just now, the senior director and head of global research at Blizzard Entertainment. Is a company I've played so many games back in the day, and I still play them. It's Mike Swiontkowski. Hello there, Mike. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Welcome. Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, very good. Mike, could you, before starting our conversation here, tell us a bit about yourself, your career?
Of course. Yes. So I've been at Blizzard Entertainment for about 6 years. Prior to that, and all in global research and consumer insights, function. Prior to that, I was at Activision Publishing. Activision Blizzard is the larger parent company. So Blizzard kind of tricked me to come over. No, not tricked me. I was very happy to join, actually.
Right.
I was at Activision Publishing in a similar role in consumer insights for 8 years. Before that, I was on what we call kind of the market research supplier side. So at a company called Arbitron, which got purchased by Nielsen, and a company called Westat, does a lot of educational research in the US. And I was doing graduate school work and survey methodology. I'm a person that I'm a continuous student. So I did all of my graduate work part-time in survey methodology at the University of Maryland, and then while I was working here at Northwestern University in predictive analytics. So for all of you students out there, just keep going. But
all right, good deal. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, we're good to hear that you're a lifelong learner. Our students, all of them are. And we're doing this just now. You see, this is the 16th Market Intelligence Forum from Live University. So we're really thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. Thanks.
Good deal. So I have some questions. Our PR team talked to yours, and I would like to bring them just now. May I?
Of course, yes.
Okay, great deal. Let's start. So the first question is, how does a game company research consumer trends and market opportunities to keep the base so hyped?
Yeah, so there's many different ways that we research things, both organically and in more formal ways. So organically, there are, all of our employees, well, majority of them play games or at least read about them on a regular basis. So there's always ideas that are coming from just playing competitors' games, our own, what else we're reading out there. That's kind of the organic side, where people know when there's new trends and things going on. On the more formal side is the things that my team largely oversees, where we're going out directly and asking our consumers about things or using other tools that are out there to follow new trends and pieces that are going on. So some things that we do, we have ongoing studies that are always going on with our active players, where we're asking them, how they feel about things, how they feel about competitors or our own game. We also subscribe to several different services where we're looking at, engagement and new trends and things that are emerging. And we will do things, in more less public ways, where we may be asking in more close forums, asking our players about potential ideas that we have under consideration. But it happens through many different ways.
Good deal. Well, it feels like a dream, you know, you're playing and all of a sudden you're talking to such a great company. Hey, this is an internal forum. Not everybody gets to talk with us. How do you feel about that? I figured people would feel really appreciated when they're working on that way.
Yes, in fact, it works both for us and against us. So for us, and we have no shortage of people that want to talk about anything related to gaming or our company. The key thing is trying to get that in an organized fashion and also making sure that it's an unbiased. So we will work with third-party firms and other things. Sometimes people don't realize it's Blizzard at all. Our competitors do similar things as well, because you might answer things like a little differently if you know directly who it is. We also have to construct things so we're not just getting, you know, the loudest voices. We're getting the representative view, and we're getting in an actionable and a constructible way. Like if we just hear, oh, I love this, or you know, I hate this, or this is like, we want to be more specific to whether it's our designers, marketers, or any of the people in the company, so they can make that feedback more actionable.
Well, that's perfect. Well, thank you so much for that answer. Mike, I have a second question we prepared here for you. And this is really specific. It makes the analysts, the coordinators, the managers that are here, some directors too, that have been working on marketing analysis for such a long time, but specifically for your company, which is, can you give us some examples or any example of a routine, a technique, a game company could execute to understand other market players' strategy? Please give us some gold here.
Sure. So I'm not necessarily giving any secret sauce or anything here, but one common technique that happens in our industry that I think could be applied to many different industries is a technique called a teardown. And this is very similar to how, you know, if you take a piece of hardware, how an engineer might take apart a new piece of hardware that comes out and understand what all those components are and how they work together, and to almost reverse engineer it back.
Right.
We will do similar things related to games that come out there. Okay, let's go through it. Let's talk to some high-level players, some people that have spent a little bit of time with it, but people have also spent a lot of time with it. How does the core gameplay loop work? What are, you know, for instance, in games, there are do this to earn this, to spend on this, to, you know, and it's just a constant loop that you're going back. And you can do that both for gameplay mechanics that ultimately help design and product management, but you can also do that for, you know, outside of gaming, go-to-market strategies. So you can look at what competitors and others have done. And now with social media and many other things, you can actually follow their more official messages more easily. You can go onto YouTube, look at, you know, what taglines they use when they launch those campaigns, when they had different tweets, social media messages, when using other third-party tools, when they started buying media and what messages they used and chose to not use. So you can almost reconstruct somebody's go-to-market campaign or how they did their game. And one thing I'd say to take with that, though, is use it to not necessarily mimic what a competitor does, but use it as inspiration.
Great.
So take what you've found from that others have done and what parts of it you like, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel in terms of when you do certain things or what are general common industry best practices. But maybe you can make it your own from there. But if you have that intelligence, I like to say we like to be decision informed or data informed rather than necessarily data driven. So you'll use the data that we have to make decisions, but there's other context in that decision as well. But you want to have it, you want to be informed, so you have the best intelligence to make the optimal decisions.
That's really fantastic. You see, for us players, it feels like there's an underlying magic, like there's a secret sauce or anything like that. But the examples you brought us are really good, and they make us feel that it's mostly through hard work. I mean, you have a torrent of data collection, a bunch of analysis you run, and then the answers eventually and some bets will show off. That's really awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's also, honestly, you could look at many types of entertainment. I think if you spent enough time with it, I'm in Los Angeles, there's travel people from TV and film. If you go through and you deconstruct, certain movies and stuff, you start seeing formulas and you
Yeah.
start seeing other things, and you realize, and then you can, go off of that. It demystifies it a little bit for you.
You just demystified for us. Thank you so much, Mr. Swiontkowski. Well, I have a third question here. I think it's probably the most important question. Everybody who's here attending to our 16th forum is waiting for you to answer this. All right, let's go. One of the perennial bases for a company to thrive and set its course into the future is understanding newborn and upcoming markets, such as the mobile heyday and just around the corner, cloud processing. So concerning consumer research specifically, are there any means for a market intelligence crew to assess these uncertain opportunities before diving into newborn marketplaces, platforms? Can you give us suggestions of a framework analysis, tools that shine a light onto that?
Oh, of course. Yes, there's definitely several things you can do. So whenever something new is happening in the space or in your industry or related to it, some industries are more publicly covered than others. But you should do some initial exploratory research on it. So I like to say you should at least have one team member, if it's a bigger company, more, that are constantly watching these new trends and new things that are emerging, that are out there. And most of them fizzle and they don't turn into anything. But several of them will eventually break through. And it could have a dramatic effect on the industry, and you want to make sure you're on top of it. So a couple things you should watch and think about in terms of the framework to identify what is something that's going to fizzle and it doesn't really matter versus other ones. So the first thing is behavioral data for new ideas like this trumps attitudinal data. So behavioral data, particularly if a game, or not necessarily a game, but a new trend or anything like it, if it's sticky, is the most important thing. So sticky, I would define as you have ongoing engagement. It keeps happening. People come back to something, and then they see a lot of value in it if they keep coming back, especially once the novelty of that product has worn off. Even if that stickiness is happening among a small number of users, that's powerful. There's many examples out there, like one that comes to mind is Slack. They found out it was very powerful piece of product when they just saw their employees just kept going back to it and using it over and over again. So that's really important. The next thing I would say in terms of structure on the consumer research is you want to look at how you can improve things, and you want to also act as kind of a team player rather than a gatekeeper with the stakeholders when you have some new ideas that you're exploring. So you don't want to be cutting things down. That didn't work. I've seen countless examples of really innovative things happening in the industry that seemed that even when presented to consumers early on, they'd be like, I don't know, that's new. I'm not so sure about that. And you may have not gone forward with that if you had listened to the early consumer feedback. The best way is to keep it open and try and not say yes or no on this product or this new initial idea, but focus on like the positive elements and what's doing really well and what can be improved. So one framework I like to use is the kind of satisfaction versus importance chart, like a 2x2 grid. Which of the things in it are really important to you, like on a scale. If you have various features or things related to it, and how satisfied people are, and focus largely on the ones that are, either really important and below satisfaction that you need to bring up, or particularly the ones that are your core strengths. It's very important and they're satisfied with them. Those are the things that are going to drive things forward. So you want to keep working on those. And then I'd say, just keep iterating. Like these new ideas, they don't come from like a flash in the pan out of nowhere. Maybe an element of it was, but you keep improving on it and polishing and polishing. We have a famous thing at Blizzard, we would say adding Blizzard polish. So we will keep going until something feels like it's ready. At a certain point, you have to stop and just release your product. But, keep polishing on it. There's other ways, though, like there's parts of the Silicon Valley that are like fail fast, get it out there, see how it goes, and get it in the hands of consumers. We're able to do things, with our employees and with our teams for a longer period of time before we get it public. Also, entertainment is a little different, where just like, whether it's a film or TV show or piece of music, video games, like the initial reception is generally how it goes. You can improve on it, but it needs to be very good in that first inception versus, say, a piece of productivity software where you can just kind of keep iterating.
Perfect.
So those are some ways to think about it.
Great deal. Yeah, it feels like this iteration situation. It's really important, but at the same time, you have a name, right? I mean, Blizzard could not launch something that feels unfinished, unpolished. So it's like a two-way. You should take some care at one point, and at the same time, you have to keep the iteration going. So I imagine it takes a lot of hard work, but we're really thankful that you do this, because as consumers, we can tell that Blizzard does this. And at the same time, as market intelligence analysts, we're happy to hear that we're going on the right way, because we do these X and Y kind of analysis to see, well, I should work this leverage a bit up and that a bit down, because this is important, this is not. So we're good to go. Thank you so much. This was a very good answer.
And also just add, just thinking about it, a key thing for consumer researchers is really, like I talked about, being that team player, being somebody who's helping, not somebody who's trying to, be the do this, do that. Product designers are looking for, whether it's product design or other elements of our company, they're looking for someone that can help them. And what can you offer to help the business, not just, say this idea is bad and this idea is good. What can, if you have that mindset of how can I help you, that will go a long way.
Yeah. All right. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, yes, you're helping us a lot with these answers. So the idea of how can I help you is really working today. Thank you so much. I have one final question for you, Mr. Swiontkowski. That is, a lot has been said about the metaverse lately and the infinite possibility of interaction between those involved. How can a game company run its consumer research preparing for these shifts that seem to be an opportunity but could be a trap hole in the gaming industry?
Sure. So with metaverse is obviously, a new term and a buzz term out there. The first way I want to think about it is whenever a new term like that comes out, it's really important to define it exactly how you think and how consumers think, because how I've seen right now that being defined, many different ways. Not everybody has the same definition. One example, like you could say metaverse is a virtual world where people hang out and, meet others, chat, engage in activities. And, by that definition, that has existed in gaming for a long time.
Exactly.
Others, whether it's our games like World of Warcraft or others, Grand Theft Auto Online, Second Life, many different things. So it's really important to get exactly what that definition is. And this is particularly helpful in consumer research. I'll actually give a couple examples and get back to the metaverse piece. We've had examples in esports early on when our definition of esports wasn't necessarily matching what consumers' definition was. So we would do in our research before even asking questions about something like that, which we thought was even more universally understood than I would say the metaverse definition is right now. We would ask, people had to get it right in a quantitative questionnaire, or in a qualitative setting, we would say, this is what esports is. Like, we were surprised at how many people thought esports meant just sports-related video games. Whether it's FIFA or Madden, NBA 2K, anything like that.
Sure.
Or people that thought esports meant a live streamer just playing a game. And it was like, well, no, in our definition, it was a competition between professional or amateur players. And so just getting that, like half the people would have answered, if we hadn't asked those questions up front, the answers we would have got afterwards, it's that garbage in, garbage out scenario.
Yeah.
Like we would have gotten answers to questions, but they wouldn't have been answered in it the same way that we thought they were. So that's really important in a situation like metaverse. Like, what is your definition? We have the same problem actually with genres in video games, and there are internal definitions versus what consumers think. So like I said, like many people right now would, define the metaverse actually kind of like, well, don't we already sort of have some of that?
Yeah, exactly.
The other things that are important to look for in these kind of situations is any virtual world needs to be a place that you want to spend a lot of time in it.
Right.
And why do you want to spend time? So, a key thing in gaming is like what's going to keep you there, whether it's user-generated content, engaging stories, competitive activities, place where your friends are. Why would you be there? And that's going to be really critical for companies to figure out to be successful in this space, or it will just be an empty land. And it also has to be compelling. Like, you got to think about, in any virtual world, it needs to be more compelling than all of the other entertainment options that are out there, either more compelling or more valuable. Like, you're getting something out of it that you don't get elsewhere. You think of all the entertainment opportunities that you have out there. Why would you spend time in ours versus something else?
Sure. And it's an arms race, right?
Yeah. I mean, Netflix famously has given examples of, they at times said, oh, actually Fortnite was one of our biggest competitors or something. They're in a battle for time and engagement. And that's the same thing that people need to think about here in this, in the metaverse, or however it's defined. Where will people want to spend time in it or not? And how do you get them to spend time there?
Yeah, we have to convince them. I mean, just as Simon Sinek says, start with the why. We have to answer the why question. It's not an easy question. And that research, all that research will shine a light onto that. Thank you so much, Mr. Swiontkowski. It's been a real pleasure. Well, our people will leave you an email contact so you may bring your questions to Mr. Swiontkowski, the Senior Director and Head of Global Research at Blizzard Entertainment. Mike, thank you so much for your participation. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And thank you for any of you guys that have supported our games and your interest in the market intelligence and consumer research industry. I love to see people adding new value to it, and look forward to all your contributions.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Then again, we're back with you, people. You have a nice one, Mike. Bye.
Thank you.